Our SEN children are vulnerable, so they need our time, they need our commitment, but so does the siblings of our SEN children. They equally need our time. They equally are children who are supposed to enjoy their childhood. Well, keep watching. I'll be sharing some reasons why we parents and caregivers must pay attention to the siblings of our SEN children. If you're not new to the channel, my name is Magna. I do post regular videos on contents about SEN topics, and so if you're interested, please subscribe, and if you like this video, please share it. I would also like to take this opportunity to announce that I have launched a second channel, Magna Music it's called, and you can find the link in the description below. I felt it was necessary to have a separate house for my gospel inspirational music and gospel, messages and scriptures. And so, if you're here because of my SEN content, but you would like to, watch faith-based content, then please head on to Magna Music or at Magna Inspires, and please remember to subscribe. Alright, let's get right into it. The first point is guilt. You see, some of the siblings of our SEN children might feel guilty for meeting all their milestones while their sibling isn't. Some of them might even feel guilty. They might even blame themselves for their sibling diagnosis. And some will feel just guilty for feeling guilty towards their sibling. So we must be aware of that. The second point is anger and jealousy. Some siblings will be resentful towards their SEN sibling, maybe because they feel the SEN sibling is receiving preferential treatment and they are not. They will also be resentful to their parents because they feel their parents is giving their emotions and their time for the SEN siblings and they are not paying attention to them. They're not giving them one-to-one, but they might be resentful towards the parents or towards their sibling. The third point is fear. It depends on the age. Some of the siblings might not necessarily be afraid when they are very young. However, as they grow, they will fear and worry about the future. For example, if their SEN sibling has a chronic condition, which means we frequently go to the hospital, then obviously they worry and be afraid that they might lose their SEN brother. As they grow older, they might worry, will they be able to make it to college? Will the parents be able to afford university and all that? So they'll have these fears and these worries. It's something that we need to be aware of. The fourth point is pressure to be perfect. Because they are aware that their SEN sibling has a need and has a disability, they will feel pressure to be perfect. They will feel pressure to be perfect and overcompensate the needs of their sibling. Again, these are things that you might necessarily have spoken or discussed this with them about, but these are feelings that these siblings will have and they're probably not even aware of. And that is why it's important to be aware that these are some of the emotions they will experience. The pressure to be perfect. The next one is sleep deprived, and this is quite explanatory. If the SEN child tends to be awake during the night or deprives the entire family of sleep, this will impact the SEN sibling as well. And so it's something we need to be aware of. Obviously, it will depend on the household and the need of the SEN sibling. And so sleep deprivation is something that the SEN siblings can experience. Point is embarrassment. The siblings of our SEN children are embarrassed to talk about their siblings. They really want their friends to come over because they'll meet their SEN siblings. So we really want to tell even their best friends that they have a sibling who has some SEN needs. And so this is something that they want to hide, that they might want to hide it from their friends or even their best friends. And so it's always important to be aware so that we can have those discussions. We can have those discussions with them. There could be some risks that we must be aware of. The first one is neglect. Obviously, we know SEN families cannot be compared to neurotypical families. What I mean is household where there is a disability it would be unfair to compare those households to a household where there is no disability whatsoever. And so we know parents, and caregivers will have to give extra time and attention to the SEN family, to the SEN child. However, it's important that we are aware that we might end up neglecting these siblings. For example, if we give all the time to the SEN child and we think the SEN the sibling is okay. The one we're discussing today, the new typical child, it's okay. He doesn't need a one-to-one. We might risk neglecting them, so it's something we must be aware of. Secondly is abuse. Again, to depend on the needs of the SEN child. But as you are aware, there are some children who can be aggressive towards their sibling. You can attack them verbally, physically, emotionally. And so it's something we need to pay attention to and ensure that if this occurs, that we seek the right support. We don't want our neurotypical children to experience all this trauma just because they happen to be siblings of children who have SEN needs. Another risk is extra chores. Again, in some households, because of the needs of the same child, these siblings are expected to take on more house chores. And this can lead to resentment, and you can also feel that you're being overworked, child labor if you want to call it. And so we just need to be aware and to ensure that, these siblings are, obviously doing the chore that which is appropriate for their age. On the point of the extra chores, I want to mention young carers. If you're not familiar with it, I will post a separate video on young carers. But in this part of the world, in this country, we are aware of young carers. Young carers can be as young as 7 or as young as 6. They are siblings who have to, or who are in households where there is a disability, and so they have to care for a parent or for a sibling. But I'll make a separate video on young carers, and we can explore all the benefits of joining young carers group. Another risk would be behavioral or emotional problems, and this probably will occur maybe later in future when you're older. See, as these siblings, experience this abuse, this neglect, feel isolated, feel they are not loved by their parents, they can experience trauma in their childhood, or later on when they grow, they will experience the trauma, and they might have these behavior and emotional issues. And so it is important that we are aware so we can address it. These siblings also risk being isolated, and the reason is because if mom and dad, or if it's a single parent, is not able to make time to take them to event because of the same brother or same sibling, they also risk being isolated, and so these siblings also end up not being able to attend this event. So there's a lot of restrictions for them. They can go and visit a friend because the parent cannot take them. Why? Because the parent needs to look after the same sibling, and so they can experience a lot of restriction and isolation. And so it's something we need to be aware of. Extra chores, I think I mentioned it earlier, can be a big thing. Again, that is why I'll be doing a post, or I'll be posting a video on young carers. One of the things we do when we make a referral to young carers is for a practitioner to come and assess the child and see if the chores that they're performing is appropriate to their age. Because believe me or not, but some households, some young carers as young as 7 have to take a lot on. And the government is aware, and so there are support in place to support them, to ensure that as much as they do their chores, they also have time to enjoy their childhood. But I will do a separate post on young carers. And so in summary, these are some of the reasons why parents or caregivers need to pay attention to the siblings of their SEN children or their neurotypical children. Just like their SEN children, these children also have needs. They have emotional needs and they have other needs, and these parents need to be aware. As you can see, I've not shared any strategies. I've only identify some of the reasons why we need to pay attention. However, look out for my next video where I will share strategies on how we can support these siblings. We can support these neurotypical children or siblings who are SEN children, so that they will also experience and enjoy their childhood as siblings of SEN children. They can also enjoy and feel loved and feel that they are getting the time that their other siblings are getting. And so I'll see you in the next video, and please, if you like the content, please remember to subscribe. Remember my new channel, my second channel, Magnum Music. If you're interested in gospel, inspirational music or faith content, please head on to Magnum Music and subscribe. And I just can't wait to share this experience with you, and I'll see you in the next video.